let's start our inspirational talk. I think you already know something about my person and also Johannes Lähnemann, because we had some tasks this day, but you don't know Martin Affolderbach, so I wanted to please you to present yourself.
Yeah, thank you. I'm a little bit behind the column here, and so I move a little bit over here that you can see me. I'm Martin Affolderbach. I'm from the Protestant Church, and I worked before my retirement in the headquarters of the Protestant churches in Germany, in Hanover. But I'm originally from Rhineland. And concerning our topic, I can say that I'm dealing with this topic since my youth, because I remember in 1972, where the Club of Rome published the first global report, The Limits of Growth. I think you mentioned this indirectly. And since then, I'm always reflecting about this topic. And maybe that has also affected my children, because my son was in Switzerland in the Green Party active, and also in the council of his city. And my daughter has published now, it's on the table over there, a big study. It's a study book for students about sustainable ecology. And with a number of examples from Germany and other countries. So maybe it has had an effect that I was involved in this topic. But my main job was in the EKD on peace work and also migration issues, asylum, and then in the last years on interreligious affairs.
Thank you so much. I can add that you are a very, very important person for Religions for Peace of Germany as our advisor. Okay, we prepared some questions and answers, of course, and want to come into our answering. So I want to ask firstly Johannes for his first question we prepared. And the question is, what makes interreligious learning and peace education urgent prerequisites for the sustainability goals of the United Nations? What would you say?
Yes. It's a simple answer. I think we all know that there is hardly any war, civil war or conflict without religious or ideological implications. And this fact calls upon the religions to make their contribution towards changing this situation of conflict and violence against human beings and nature. That means that religions have to join in these educational efforts already undertaken by educators in many areas of the world, in many fields, in religious education, history, sociology, ethics, and vocational training. And with many resources ranging from the experiences and discoveries of young people themselves to the judicious and mass media and information technology.
Thank you. We know that Religions for Peace International was founded over 50 years ago, 1970. So you joined a lot of time of Religions for Peace. So what would you say, what steps has Religions for Peace taken in the last 54 years? Yes. Only short answer, please.
Yeah, I think Religions for Peace has learned a lot in that field. At the beginning, it was not in the core of the work. It was just the Cold War and things like that. But finally, at the World Assembly in 1994 in Riva del Garda and in the Vatican, there was initiated the Peace Education Standing Commission, of which I've been the chair for more than 20 years. And we have documented interreligious peace education projects from the different religions and regions and brought them into exchange. And it's, of course, now all gathered in this book, which just came out today, Interreligious and Peace Education in Times of Crisis. And we have the times of crisis at present very well.
And what do you think, are there some added values which religious traditions can bring to learning for the future?
I explained it a little in my response to Baisaip Singh this morning, but in this book we brought out with our new commission. There is a Hindu contribution, and as we have heard a Hindu contribution just now, I think this is very interesting, how Professor Rambachan, the Hindu tradition reflects, beginning with the Vedas and explaining the Ahimsa principle of Mahatma Gandhi. He shows the religious ethics which go beyond the political arguments for the peaceful living together in a pluralistic society. Being aware of God or the infinite means for religiously convinced people humbleness in a life of responsibility and openness. If our theologians cannot limit the limitless, we can all learn and be enriched by the ways in which others have experienced and apprehended the absolute by the ways derived from such encounters and experiences. This goes against all narrowness which can be found too often in religions.
And what would you say, what are the greatest obstacles to learning with and about each other for people from different religions or traditions?
It is a lack of educational possibilities in the religious communities as well as in public education. Where there is no education, prejudices can grow, and also if you don't meet others, you see yourselves alone, and there is ideological narrowness in religions as well as in states as they have it. For example, Russia is Orthodox, Poland is Catholic, Iran is Shia, India is a Hindu continent, Myanmar is Buddhist, and so on.
And are there examples and successes you would like to mention that need to be expanded and deepened, for example?
We found very wonderful examples in different fields. For example, the Savodaya movement in Sri Lanka, the Shanti Ashram in India, the movement of Muslim Scouts, and working group of interreligious learning and peace education as we have it now in Germany. Yes.
Thank you so much.
Yes, and Martin has been introduced, and he is replacing today Juan Hernandez, who could not come, but he takes also a bit little his role. And so my first question is, what notable sustainability projects carried out by Regions for Peace would you like to highlight?
Yeah, there are a number here in Germany, but I cannot name all. But I want to come back to your remark that I am replacing Juan Hernandez from Spain, and he was the spiritual father and the main supporter for so-called Manresa 2022 Pact. And this project was established in 2020 in Spain. It was the 500th commemoration of Ignatius of Loyola, I think. And at this specific point of time, they introduced or established a multi-religious and multi-sectoral global pact for the development of resilient, sustainable, safe and inclusive societies. And this was not only taken up by Religions for Peace Europe, but also internationally. And the pact shows a great commitment of Religions for Peace to this topic, but it is very ambitious and extensive and nearly not fitting to be implemented by interreligious groups of only voluntary people, because our groups mostly composed of voluntary people, and this pact needs a lot of work when we want to implement it. So my critical point to this pact is that we need really a little manual how to deal with all these overarching objectives.
Do you think that religious people are more open and committed to sustainable convictions and behavior?
Okay, my answer to this question is there's often the saying that religions are more committed to sustainability because of their faith and their ethical principles and values. Because of this, religious people might be more committed and supportive to the concept and the challenges of sustainability. But a recent survey of the Protestant Church in Germany, the so-called Sixth Membership Survey, states clearly that this is not the case. There is no clear interdependence. Also, other academic researchers identify clearly that there is no substantial impact of any forms of religions towards sustainable attitudes and behavior. But at the same time, this membership survey identifies that 78% of the persons questioned, that means more than 3/4, want that the church should do more for the protection of the environment. People expect this independent from their religiosity and from their church affiliation.
But what are the factors which influence or support sustainable conscience?
Yes, I can continue that the study says that clearly, very clearly, that good school education, sufficient income and coverage of basic needs, voluntary activities and life contentedness are the most important factors which support sustainable conscience. Besides this, people in the middle-sized cities show more sustainable convictions than the population in the rural areas. More people in Western Germany than in Eastern Germany, and more women and younger people than men and elderly people. Besides this, people who tend to right-wing positions, to authoritarian and populist convictions, and to deny that the environmental and the climate crisis is man-made, are negative and in opposition to the issue of sustainability. That means that school education is one important factor, but not only this one. The preconditions of an environmental consciousness is multifactorial and quite complex.
Which role does the spiritual dimension play in this context?
Next Sunday we will celebrate in our churches the Harvest Festival. In German it's Erntedankfest, an old tradition that shows that our life depends on the environment and the nature around us. This holiday underlines the thankfulness and humility, the closeness to the nature and the environment as a religious habit. I mentioned the Manresa Pact of Juan Hernandez. It was established in conjunction with a pilgrimage which was carried out when it was established, and it should promote the personal growth and to live in peace and unity. This was a quotation from this pact. So spirituality, reflection and commitment to activity should go hand in hand. I think the key question in this respect is the link between the commitment to sustainability and the everyday life. The findings of the mentioned study can also be interpreted that the people support sustainability, but the church as an institution should do the necessary implementations. There seems to be a gap in our affluent society. Obviously, many people share the goals and the objectives, but do not want to do the necessary implications. So the lifestyle of modesty and readiness to give things up to sufficiency and so is not very common. In my understanding, this is the focal point for education for sustainable development, not only developing the consciousness, but also the practical implication.
Yes, I think I would now hand over to Elisabeth to ask Martin.
That's for you. Nein, du musst.
I have been asked.
Ah, ja.
No.
Nein, ich dachte, du befragst sie, aber ich kann sie auch gerne befragen. Gut. Elisabeth, what priority task do you see as the chairperson of Religions for Peace Germany currently for your work?
Yes, in Germany we currently have a situation where interfaith networks are suffering greatly from the conflict in Middle East, and conversations have fallen silent in many places. So we are trying to find forms that enable us to maintain trust in the relationships that have developed. For example, we are going on to October the 7th. We have developed a prayer of mourning from a Jewish, Christian and Islamic perspective and published that prayer on our website to help interfaith groups in Germany to mourn together their grief. Another point is that networking is a very important concern. As we know, there are interfaith networks in almost all cities and communities as like grassroots movements, which often know nothing about each other and can therefore benefit little from examples of good practice. Thank you so much. I wanted to show it now, that book. So that was one project of Religious for Peace of Germany, not only Religious for Peace of Germany, other organizations together to give that overview from interfaith networks in Germany to achieve more synergy effects to work together. Related to our sustainability topic, we have also a project group, climate protection and climate justice. Yes, we could do a lot more in this group, but we try to come into cooperation with other environmental engaged non-governmental groups to have interreligious cooperations. For example, Miriam Elzel is here from the Protestant Church. She is working very engaged for that topic. So cooperation is for us an important point. For example, to cooperate with Greenface or Abrahamic Forum, and one of our own projects is called Herbs. It's dealing with sacred and healing plants, the medicinal herbs in religions, and the possibility of a low threshold, accessible promotion of biodiversity on our doorsteps, windowsills, and balconies. I will explain it a little bit more in my keynote on Wednesday.
Yes. Why are you additionally committed to Religions for Peace Europe, and what challenges are particularly prominent there?
Yes, I'm part of the entity of the national bodies of Religions for Peace of Europe, and a fortnight ago we had a meeting of these national representatives Martin is part of ECIL, for example, he can say other things. We met in Athens in Greece, and we were able to welcome Greece and Finland as new members of our European community, perhaps Hungary in the future. Now we have the following countries in Religion for Peace of Europe: Albania, Austria, Belgium, Bosnia-Herzegovina, Bulgaria, Germany, Greece, Finland, Italy, the Netherlands, Norway, Spain, Sweden, and the UK. And we try to work together as interfaith networks on a national level. The topic in Greece was democracy. We thought this topic was very important because it is conditioned by a Europe-wide strengthening of right-wing parties at the moment and an atmosphere that threatens both Jewish and Muslim citizens. And so for us it was important to ask how can all these religions stand for plurality and for enrichment in our societies, and that was a very crucial point in that meeting.
You understand your commitment to ESD as a peace education approach. Could you elaborate on that a bit more?
Yes, sorry, I will read this note. I'm a little bit exhausted this evening now. It has long been clear, and yet it is becoming increasingly clear, that the rapidly advancing global warming is not just an environmental problem. Rather, global warming, which many climate researchers are now calling a climate crisis, not only the warming, must be recognized as a significant security problem. The growing global risk of a significant destabilization of human living conditions due to the loss of basic resources such as land, water, food, biodiversity. It is also exacerbating the resilience of systems from a socio-political perspective. So I think the connection is clear. In addition to local and regional natural disasters and extreme weather events, the climate crisis will lead to resource shortages, which in turn will result in conflicts over water resources, as well as inhabitable and cultivable land. Unforeseeable consequences will also include destabilization of the socio-political context towards, I mentioned already, authoritarian systems, and massive climate-induced migration movements. So in contrast, by protecting the climate, promoting climate resilience, and clarifying issues of climate justice, I think educational processes can also be seen as mitigation processes that reduce risks in order to ultimately avoid conflicts and promote peace.
You lead RfP, also Religions for Peace, women's group in Augsburg, and are a member of the Religions for Peace International Women's Coordinating Committee and Women of Faith Networks. What roles does the topic of gender equality play for you?
Yes, in Greece we spoke about democracy, and also religions need democracy. Not only democracy needs religions, but also religions need democracy. And I mean first and foremost the participation of women, who should be given more power and freedom to shape our societies, but also our religions. And I think that the world in its multiple crises cannot afford to do without women, on the strength of women who are fighting for peace all over the world. Women who experience firsthand every day how infinitely valuable of a human life is that they bring into the world. Women not only have great motivation and strength, but also often have more opportunities to work for peace than men. Here they sometimes benefit from the fact that they are underestimated. The world in its multiple crises, I think, cannot afford to do without women, on the strength of women who stand up against the exploitation of nature as gardeners, as carriers for their families, who fight for intergenerational justice and thus advance sustainability strategies. And we see in the interface networks that there are often speaking the representatives of the religions with each other, and these are mostly men. And so it is very necessary for the interface dialogue to give women a voice in that space.
And finally, what hopes, what visions do we have regarding our conference topic?
Yes, you already mentioned the Pact of Manresa, and yes, you are right. It's necessary to see it critically, but I think it was a first step to come into an intergenerational and multi-religious discussion, because a lot of youth people joined that meeting, and that is my dream and my vision, that we will get more of such collaborations, intergeneral collaborations, and make it more visible that religions can work for peace and sustainability. Thank you.
Thank you so much.